Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Cotunkquit Chronicles, which has been broadcast and developed here in the island of Cotunkquit in our studio. We acknowledge the custodians of the land where we are broadcasting from today, including the Narragansett Nation, and we pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. I'm your host, James Allen, and I'm joined here most weeks, and this week by the extraordinary adventurer, extreme sport enthusiast, and all-around great gal, Ashlyn Komoric. Hello and welcome to episode 9453 of Cotunkquit Chronicles. And today we're really excited about our special guest here today, Frankie Aswanti of none other than Cotunkquit, and a new visitor here to this town. We really consider him a newbie.
Is he a visitor or a resident? He's a new resident.
Well, he's sort of a visitor. He still hasn't unpacked his underwear.
Working on it.
Because it takes how many years to go from visitor to resident?
It's about, well, I never really did unpack my underwear. I just used the same ones over and over and over. I've been here
That explains so many things.
29 years or something. I don't know. Lots of years. So are you enjoying your stay thus far?
Loving it so far. It's been a really nice September. September was beautiful.
Good.
And if the rain would hold off a bit, would be enjoyed on the weekends, to say the least.
Yes. Well, you do hit a golf ball quite far, so the weather is critical for all the golfing that we do play. We do actually play in the same league together, and it's been a lot of fun doing that. Oh, tonight's episode's entitled Animals at War. Intriguing title tonight. Mm-hmm. And we have a lot to talk about with Dr. Aswanti here, Frankie Aswanti. You have such an interesting name. I'm just not getting a handle on where that came from. I know that the Italian Roman group might have been involved with some plundering over in Ireland. Is that correct? Because Aswanti and your face just don't match up.
Yeah, the red beard, I think it was the mailman in the Roman times it must have came from.
Did they have a whole mail system then? I'm sure it was mail, the other mail, M-A-L-E. It was very
they must have gotten information from one place to another, whether they called it a mail system or not.
Either mail, or would it be mule? Could have been a mule.
Oh, correct.
Mule system.
So we have a clever player today. We do have to do our little trumpet and our waves and all that shit. Here you go. So let's get this right off my chest. What's your pronoun? Or do you have pronouns?
He, him.
And let's see. Introduce. That's what I'm supposed to do is introduce you. I know you to be quite a salesperson. As have my conversations with you about sales. My daughter also is in sales, so we've rused about that a bit.
What do you sell?
I sell access to information or data, depending on how you kind of think or interpret that.
Let me ask this question about that.
Interesting.
Do you ask the group or the person that's making the decision? Do you ask them how much they'd like their payment to be? And then do you take them? Do you go in another room with a sales manager, and then come back?
You mean like a car salesman?
Yeah, that's like a car salesman.
Yeah, it's just like selling cars. every day is just, wake up, grab some coffee, go out to the lot, check what's in the inventory, and see if any suckers come by.
So it's not used car sales, but it's, now you can describe what it is that you do.
Yeah, so I sell access to information to institutional investors. So private equity groups, venture capital groups, hedge funds, and investment managers typically.
And whose information is this?
So it's actually proprietary information that's curated from other investors. So think Providence Equity Partners, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to understand what an individual did while opening, let's say, a company like Boeing that's going through a really tough time right now. So that hedge fund investor would start a conversation with the former operator, think CEO, COO type personas who kind of has that knowledge of what's actually going on within the business. That person obviously has to be removed from the company that they're working out for compliance reasons. But thereafter, those two individuals have a conversation, and those are considered expert consultations or calls.
They're very expensive.
Yeah, a typical call with a C-suite executive is probably $3,000 to get started. What our company did was we started recording these conversations, understanding that, let's say James was hosting a conversation. James' conversation might also be interesting or of value to you, Ashland, if you ran another fund that was potentially also looking at Boeing. So we started recording those conversations, transcribing them, and then building them into
With
a
everyone's
software platform.
knowledge.
With everyone's knowledge and consent. And with that came
A brand new car.
a brand new used Mustang from 2008 for the lucky buyer. That's kind of how it goes.
Okay, so I need to ask, how did you get into this field?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I probably have one of the
Circuitous.
more interesting stories of how I kind of got into this world of institutional finance, because it's not the type of background that I came from as a family guy across the bay. My family was in excavation. With that, I started a landscaping business with my twin brother when I was around 13, 14 years old.
A Swanty landscaping.
A Swanty and Brothers Landscaping Company.
Very good.
And Billy and I started the business by knocking on the neighbors' doors like many young boys and girls do around town.
Not in this town. I can't get anybody to cut my lawn.
We'll have to send over the
Katunkwit's
neighbors next
bereft
door.
of willing
And
Youth.
grass.
as we,
cutters.
went and scooped the snow off the driveway and raked the leaves and mowed the lawns, we realized, this isn't too bad. We're making a lot more money than the kids scooping ice cream or checking tickets at the beach. So we decided to continue knocking on doors, and fast forward to high school, we had some 60 clients or so likely that we were mowing Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays.
Did you make $1 million?
It felt like $3 million. But it was really like $300 a day, which was great.
Oh, yeah.
At that age, it felt
Very
like,
good.
thousands and thousands
Yeah,
of
that's good.
dollars. And from that, decided to stay local for college, both my brother and I. And
So you went to the local university over there?
yes, I did, over in Newport.
Oh, the Newport one. Oh,
Yes.
good. Oh, so you went to Salve Regina
Salve Regina University.
Yeah, very good.
Exactly right. Right in our backyard here.
Did you play sports there?
I played college lacrosse over there. Well, I was on the team. I didn't play too much. I was busy running a business that had 100 or so clients by that time. So
Oh,
skipped a lot of practices and whatnot, which the coach was kind of understanding of and understood what we were doing.
well, that's good that the coach understood.
Yeah, the coach was a really reasonable fellow, which was
I
helpful
had
for
an
me.
occasion when I was in college, playing college soccer. And I told the head coach, I said, I can't be at practice on Tuesday. And he said, why? Well, we got a game on Thursday. He said, I said to him, well, I've got to go out and I got to make $1,000 on Tuesday. He said, I'm canceling practice. I'm coming with you. He sent his son with me, and we did much more than $1,000 actually that day. And it was clamming. and they had opened up this area, and I just couldn't miss it. It was my, at the time, it was my college tuition and probably like half of all the money I needed to
Drink beer.
drink. Oh, that's probably what I lived on, and get through at least a semester. So it was very lucrative at the moment, and of course, the next day you can make nothing because it was like a 2-day thing. Okay, go on.
So as I was, played college lacrosse, ran this business, enjoyed running the business a lot, met a multitude of just awesome people, really from all different walks of life. I think, anything from a school teacher to a lawyer to a pharmacist to a plumber, and understanding how to talk to each one of those individuals was really fun because you were fostering a relationship for business, but it was a bit deeper than that.
For someone that was exposed to all those carbon, the exhaust from those machines, you speak quite well.
I think it's all bullshit, James.
No, you're doing great. So keep going, because that's what we do here.
So
Interrupt you.
It's the nature of conversation. Good conversation, anyway. As college kind of progressed and I decided that I wanted to study finance, I really got interested in finance from a terrible disaster that happened in the country. It wasn't 9/11, but it was the BP oil spill. So I had never really thought of what I wanted to do in my career. I'd always thought that I'd be doing some type of people relationships or client development, something of that nature, because I enjoyed that about growing the business. But my dad came home upset, and I vividly remember him walking into his office, and he's a guy that's never high and never low. He's happy-go-lucky every day. He wakes up with a smile on his face. He works hard for 10, 12 hours a day and comes home with his family. And if he had a good day at work, no big difference from if he had a terrible day at work. But today I could tell that something was off. And as it goes, I asked him why, and we got into conversation around him being exposed via the stock market to BP. And he explained how he lost money and, it had done so well. And I was just intrigued on a terrible event or disaster. It was intriguing to see what it could do to people that are not really
Directly
exposed
affected,
or
yeah.
employed by the company in any capacity. It grabbed my attention like nothing else that I can really remember through my education at that point. And so it goes. I have to do a project to get out of high school, and
So you figure you were going to change the world by becoming a finance major, which I think is very admirable. I'm not making fun of that at all. And really trying to rectify your father's situation.
Nope, had nothing to do like that. Okay. It was actually
Good try,
that was
James.
really perceptive of me.
I wanted to just sell thousands of gallons of Dawn's soap. James.
Oh, okay, very good.
Not really. I don't know. It was interesting because it felt like it had such wide.
See the connection with the with the oil and the birds. Yeah, I got you.
There it is.
And here's to Dawn, one of our new sponsors here at Katunkwit Chronicles, and it does work, and we use it also for
Getting the skunk smell off our dogs.
Smell off our dogs.
Yes, it's better than the ketchup or tomato sauce.
Yes, because Dawn is very good at cutting grease
Okay, we digress.
know.
or oil,
All
Good
right.
to know for my dog.
skunk oil.
As we digress, but this is riffing. Okay, riff away.
So as the kind of progression went, I got interested in finance, and I decided to stay local, go to school at Salve, and started studying finance. Found it interesting because a lot of it was very, very competitive. A lot of the classes, you'd pick a stock portfolio and actually invest fake money, but you're competing directly against your peers next to you, which I thought was quite different than writing, per se, an essay or some text on
Oh, that writing.
a paper that would have been kind of graded by the teacher, but no
Would be
competitive edge to
subjectively
it.
graded as
Correct.
opposed to actually numbers.
Yeah.
And
Come out with the other end with the product. Yeah.
it all makes sense to me now because now I live with a number above my head in sales, having to hit that number quarter to quarter. And my favorite thing to do is not really hit or achieve that number, but to compete against the people that I love working with while we're all going to try to grow a business together.
Wow, if I didn't know you better, I'd think that was bullshit. But boy, that was nice.
Yeah, it's true. It's
So true.
All of it's
My God,
true.
hey, you know, m- my wife's in this. Eva's involved in managing people, and she's always got the team. She always talks about the team, and how lifting up the next person is just so. It is uplifting for those that do the assisting and the lifting. So good, good.
Do you get to work
idea.
from home?
I work from home and travel for business a good amount. Twice a month. It's not too bad. New York, Chicago, LA, not my favorite.
Exeter.
And Exeter on
Mondays.
Oh, so you're not in a golf league on Katunkwit.
No. We
Do
can't
golf
get in.
balls-
We can't get into this league, especially him. And he just arrived.
It's going to
I've
be
been
at
here-
least 30 years.
I've been here for almost 30 years, and I can't get in. On that topic, so then, the magic moment when you went to this new company, because
So-
we're only here for about an hour and
Yeah,
change.
so before we get there, so I'm getting through with college, and my twin brother had wanted to work in supply chain, and he got a great job offer with Toyota and Lexus down in Baltimore. He went and took it, and I ran the business through the end of the summer. We basically decide we're not going to do this forever because we'll go into the family business, my father's family business, if that's what the type of work we wanted to do forever. My mom passed when I was young. She wanted me to use my brain, not brawn. Alas, we're going to sell the landscaping business. So we sell the landscaping business, and before we sold the business, took all the guys that worked for us, went over to Newport, started drinking, saying thank you, ran up a big tab. 3 hours go by, meet a guy and his girlfriend at the bar. He's a big shot down in Wall Street. We chat for an hour or so, and fast forward the story, 15 or so days later, I went and moved to New York and worked for this guy.
Oh, it's great.
And that's kind of how I got into this world, if you would. Kind of.
It
Little
is.
like
happenstance.
random meetings,
It's the
that's
truth
so,
in life,
yeah.
isn't it?
And
Yeah, I really believe that.
Especially if you're like a people person who clearly Frankie is like
All the Aswantis.
chatting and
That's
making those
brother Jim,
connections.
right? That's cool.
Talking at the bar was just like knocking on doors to, old Susanna, who'd been a librarian and needed her property mowed or manicured. It was.
I think there's a song, Old Susanna. On
I
that
think I'm-
topic, though,
Could you sing it for us?
we know a friend of ours who plays golf with us who he's exceptionally good at self-promoting, his product. And I just think he finds, not disingenuous ways to bring it into the topic, but clever. He's clever about it, and he never knows when you're going to meet somebody, and he does. And he continues to sell, and that's wonderful. I'm going to ask a series of rapid-fire questions, and we'd like Frankie Connor Aswante to answer in a relatively rapid-fire manner.
Sure.
Now, given that you've just moved here to this community, we just have to check you out and to see if you can handle the scene.
Do your diligence, please.
Number one, are you a clammer? Have you any skills at all?
I can clam a bit. There's a clam rake at the garage front door right now, but it has yet to be used.
Oh, so you're not a clammer. Okay. Have you attended a Katunkwit theatrical production yet? Because
I
that's critical.
I have not.
You don't even live here. Are you a member of the Katunkwit Art Association yet?
No, I am not.
Get on that.
I need an invite.
How about the Striper Club?
No, I guess not.
You're in the
Tell
Stripper
me a
Club,
bit
though,
about
right?
that,
Yeah,
Stripper Club.
Stripper Club. No, this is the Striper Club. Do you own a boat?
No boat.
Gosh, you haven't any answers that are positive yet.
We'll get there.
I don't think you
9,
belong
10, and
here.
11
I think
going.
you here just for the coffee or something?
With coffee and views.
Have you ever been a member of the Communist Party, or have you any family members been members of the Communist Party? Do not answer this. This is a joke.
3 of them.
I did ask that, I did that joke one time with, have you ever been a member of the Communist Party, or have any members of your family been members of the Communist Party? And the person said, yeah, my father was the head of the Communist Party in the 30s, And, you know, you never know. And, you know, somebody has to be president, I guess. Have you ever played the Katunkwit Golf Course?
Often.
Ah, good. Huh.
I want to know, has any golf balls come into the property where you're living from the golf course?
Absolutely. I found one on my desk this morning that the girlfriend found out in the backyard. So
Oh,
can confirm some shanks and missiles going out there off the tee box
that
too.
would be quite the shot if it were actually to find its way into your house
And land on your desk.
onto your desk.
Please that it didn't.
That's a very big shank, though. I mean, let's face it. That's hitting it pretty far the wrong way.
Very far the wrong way.
Yeah.
I'd say, we have never done that though. Correct, James? We don't ever miss
You've
it.
never shanked it?
So rarely. I've been pulling the ball a lot lately, so you know, so it's been going left and far left. Do you know Macy Templeton? Is your girlfriend Macy Templeton?
No, I don't know Macy.
Oh,
Should I get to know Macy?
I think he'd know a lot more about shellfish and shellfishing if he
yeah,
was.
he wouldn't. She wouldn't
dating
hang with
Maisie
somebody
Templeton.
that didn't know anything about fishing. Especially, you only answered one question correctly here. 7. You play golf at the Katunkwit Golf Course. Okay, so maybe the questions are no good. Are your relatives from South Kingstown, willing to visit you in Katunkwit, weather permitting?
I thought he was from Narragansett.
Narragansett originally. Lived
Oh,
in South Kingstown prior. But yes, I think they would take the journey. In fact, they did last Thursday. They told me they took a horse, a train, and a plane to get there, though.
you know, that's a lot like Ashland. She travels in those kinds of ways. You know, she'd probably take a canoe or not a canoe, but the other thing there, the kayak.
I do have a
across.
canoe also.
If she worked in Providence, she'd likely
Take the ferry.
take the ferry or boat or kayak. Are you able to swim? It's an easy one now.
I can swim very well.
2 questions. Still got it. Okay, we're on question number 11. Did you attend college? If so, where did you drink all the beer in Newport, I guess?
Newport. Yep.
We know we attended college. We know where.
Did you drink all the beer in Newport?
Yeah.
Where
All
did
the
you?
beer.
Oh, did you drink? Not
That's
where
a-
did
that's
you
a-
drink?
Ooh. Where
What
did
is
I
the
used to
what
drink?
is the hot Salve place to go?
You know, nowadays I'm not sure. We were big O'Brien's Pub fans and The Landing.
Okay, so those 2 groups have got to become sponsors very shortly. We're going to get them on because we're mentioning these places. Phew,
In the
where?
olden days, Salve people used to go downstairs. You know where the bookshop is now? Remember when there was that bar in the basement with the pole and the turtle in the tank?
Ooh, it's a pole. Okay.
That was a very popular
that was the
Salve
Boom Boom
place.
Room.
No, it wasn't the Boom Boom Room.
Great bar.
It was the Boom Boom Room when I was there with Lisa.
I'm talking Lower Broadway where the bookstore is.
Lisa was my girlfriend, like back in the late 70s.
7th grade.
Like 70s. And we would go there, and I recall there was a party there, and it was, it was well before Eva, and we were dancing it up on the pole there. There was a pole, I think it was a pole.
Shaking it for all the ladies, James.
I could move. I could definitely move back in the day, but I'm paying for it now. All right, those are all the questions I have for you. Do you have any questions for
No, I think we know
Frankie
quite a bit about
Connor
Frankie.
Swanty and the Swanty business? But really cool to get to know you, and I'm sure you're going to pitch in with some stories very soon.
Absolutely.
Got to take a flyer here, and go with the Irish thing. And you know what? We don't need to ascribe any particular heritage to anyone. You realize that here at the Katunkwit Chronicles. We're all from the same origins, let's face it. But we do have some traditions. Are there any traditions that you and your dad and your brother prescribe to each year as you address these holidays and whatnot? What's your favorite holiday? Let's start there.
My favorite holiday is probably Thanksgiving, actually.
Thanksgiving's
It's
good.
the biggest family get-together we typically have. So I find
Tryptophan,
that
you get to
special.
sleep in the afternoon and
Man.
watch the Detroit Lions play somebody.
Cowboys, probably.
Yeah.
No, it's nice to have all the family around. What's yours, James? Favorite holiday? All year long.
I refer to it as Independence Day. Nobody knows what I'm talking about. But it's, other people refer to it as either the 4th, for some reason, or 4th of July. But I like that because it's got all the stuff I like. I like the clams.
Sure.
Price of clams was up, and, you're probably understanding that I have a clam background, right? So that was always
He's very
good.
clammy.
The temperature was usually nice right around there, or it could be hot, but it was nice. All of the drinks associated with that, gin and tonic and stuff like that, was fine and fun. And we used to put together a massive in-the-ground clam bake at that time. And it was like the nicest thing that happened to my family when I was growing up, right? That was the quintessential event of the year. Christmas was a holiday that we celebrated. However, it was a dark period each year. It was very morose because we didn't have any money. So it was always a strain on the family. That said, we should have been out cutting lawns and shoveling driveways, which I was, by the way.
Or clamming younger.
Or clamming, even younger than I was at 11. So there you have that. That was that question. So any current topics that we should be discussing? There's a couple of wars popping up overseas that, today is going to be a little bit about politics tonight in the story. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about what's going on in the Middle East and then, of course, Ukraine, between Russia and Ukraine. I was curious, here's a full disclosure here for Cotunckwit Chronicles friends and family. Frankie is of the different generation by 35 years in my case, and we're not going to talk about how
old Ashlyn is.
Ashlyn doesn't look anywhere near her age, but
but she's
just
old.
For the listening audience, I'm looking and feeling.
Ashlyn is old enough to be Frankie's mother. Yes, it's true.
Yes, that's true. So you follow any of the politics, and I don't really want you to get too deep into it, like specifics, but are you following this? Are you going to vote?
Did you watch the debate last night?
Oh, more importantly, did you register to vote here in Cotunckwit?
So I didn't register to vote here yet, but I just put in my forwarding for my mail address, so the next form should be here in a week or so. And I don't know if I'll vote in the local election because I don't feel informed enough to vote for it currently, having just moved in. Want to learn a little bit about the candidates and such. Do my own diligence as it's part of my job, and I feel like if you're going to vote, you should know what you're voting for.
But you'll vote in the national primary? I mean the national election for president?
Yes, I will.
Good.
Last night was really interesting.
Yeah, I thought so.
I wish we could flip the candidates from last night's candidates to the ones that are running on the ticket, but that's not how the world works. So here we'll go.
I did think that if the Republicans, and this would never happen given the presidential candidate for that party, but when Biden stepped aside, the really tactical thing they should have done was said, okay, well, we're switching our president and vice president, because even though I'm not a particular fan of their vice presidential candidate, he conducted himself so much better than their presidential candidate.
True.
Absolutely.
That I was like, you guys missed an opportunity here.
It's too bad because he's young. He's like 40, I think, Vance, that is. And he conducted himself with, I don't want to say I think he overperformed from what I had expected of him.
Yeah.
And
perform is a good answer, though. That's a good observation.
They were very cordial. It was like things used to be before it was so angry and ugly and outrage, all this bad behavior.
It was,
But I did think it was interesting. He's much more like a typical politician.
He's a
Which
businessman
is-
at his core, though, which is what I thought was so interesting because he did play politicians so well. But at his
Right. But
core,
that's
he's
really not what the Republican Party is. That's not the kind of candidate they are presenting for president. They're like, no, we don't want these politicians. And he was very much like a polished politician.
I agree.
And he does have kind of scary demon eyes.
True.
The side look.
I do that too, but that's because of my neck.
Waltz's look when he was not the side look, but he was turned sideways looking at him, that was also a kind of
Yeah.
scary look.
I met some real statesmen in my lifetime. And I had the opportunity to spend significant amount of time for, a clam fisherman from the area. And I met Claiborne Pell in the street in Warren, Rhode Island, when I was living there. I was just going uptown to get probably a hot wiener and maybe like a sleeve of them, because I used to buy lots of them and eat them for some reason. I thought that was food. And he sat down with me at the bench I was on. He was just resting, and he was on the stump working the street. And I just sat there with him, and nobody seemed to recognize him. He's a senator, the U.S. senator. I'm having a great conversation with Claiborne Pell about how grateful I was for the money I received so I could attend college, And it did come directly from him, but the whole idea of a Pell Grant, there's Claiborne Pell, and I'm sitting right next to the guy. Fast forward, I get my degree, and I'm working here in this community, and we just had this meetings where, and I believe you were part of it, but we met with a lot of folks, and we decided we need a playground over near the library, and we got together, and it was really driven by the community, and I was the director of Parks and Recreation, so I was participating, and but they had so much more knowledge about how to put together a playground. But this playground was going to be made of plastic, and that was a really different concept at the time. And so we ended up, it was like recycled wood we were using, recycled wood, plastic wood, I think it was. And John Chafee got hold of this idea, and he was an environmentalist, and he liked the idea of us using plastic for
Waste material.
Waste material, I guess. Yes. So he came down, but he showed up about an hour early, and none of the people that were going to be there to interview him came in. So I got to hang out with him, and he was very interesting. He was interested in my father's war service, and I was very interested in his. And we got to hang out. And the same thing happened with Bruce Sunderland. And, Bruce Sunderland was the governor of the state of Rhode Island. I was having coffee up here in town. He used to live here. And, he was much older at the time. And he told me all about his war story. And it is fascinating. He was shot down in the middle of France, and he made it all the way back at night, bicycling from town to town. The dude was amazing. I mean, that was an amazing story. I did run into Buddy Cianci one night at a party, and
Another Rhode Island
I heard
character.
that story. That was
Tell
another
us more.
story, but that's for another day. So, I mean, had these chances to really meet these. I wouldn't put him in the statesman
Not
group.
quite.
Buddy Cianci was the mayor of Providence and the head of a large organization. And I'm not going to say much about that. Had occasion to be at a party with Senator Reed. Great guy.
Yeah, you see him around town.
I see him around town quite a bit, yes. He lives here in Cotunkwood. So lots of fun. Have you had any meetings with politicians?
Not allowed to talk with politicians.
Oh, because of your interest in the market?
Yeah, so I'm signed to certain paperwork where clinical trials and politicians are basically off limits.
So if you're having a sleeve of wieners and you're in Warren and
You got to drop him and run.
a senator
Run
starts,
for the hills.
just leave them for him. Okay.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
we don't cross over though, which is good for everyone else in the world.
I like that. And you? Have you had any occasion to mingle?
No, not any politicians around here.
Well, go out and seek some politicians and speak to them. I'm going to hear some trumpets, and then we're going to do a wave. Every time the wave hits there, I just take a big, deep breath and a sigh. It's wonderful. Breathe deeply. Oh, we have a commercial break here. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the sponsors that have been guiding us through these recent podcasts. This one in particular is sponsored by, isn't this cool? Because you told your story.
Very on brand.
But this podcast is sponsored partially by Gerald's Landscape Service. It brings you the quality lawn and yard maintenance, tree cutting, patio and pool design, and all your landscaping design needs through the hard work of a diverse staff of folks from all over the world and from here in Cotuncquit too. Gerald's full-service landscaping believes in bringing diversity to Cotuncquit, even if it's only for 8 to 10 hours per day. The Republican running for town council, Emmett Diebold, would like to remind you to vote in November.
So we do have one Republican running for town council?
Yes, the Republican. And then there's the Democrats running for all town offices would like you to remember to not vote for the Republican Emmett Diebold. Isn't that nice? And then the Independents would like, with both of them, would like to remind you to think of Switzerland and their neutrality while voting in November. James Allen would like you to remind you to consider the effects of global warming as you vote in November. And think of a saner time as you're voting as well. Okay, so how about Haggardsley Von Batesman-Siles Insurance? Everybody knows about them. Haggardsley Von Batesman-Siles Insurance brings you broad-based insurance products for all your insurance needs. Hamlin has the big insurance company feel without the big offices and additional layered responses when working with other insurers. Richard Haggardsley Von Batesman-Siles answers your calls, visit your claim site, and will even have a cup of coffee while on site if you ask him to come to the house for a visit. Despite his dogged fight in court over baseless claims of insurance fraud, Richard presses on, just as he will if you have a claim against one of his many participating insurance companies that he represents. Haggardsley Von Batesman-Siles Insurance is located at P.O. Box 9,000,004 at the Cotuncquit Post Office as the company rotates business sites through the use of an RV, most often sited at the Fort Perry Campground in Cotuncquit. Bob and Miranda's Backyard Beer Blast. See Bob or Miranda about bringing the home-brewed tastes of hoppy beer to your home for pop-up parties and sales. No permits required or desired. We are in and out before anyone realizes you're conducting your illegal pop-up party. Jesus Christ, we'll advertise almost anything here in the Cotuncquit Chronicle podcast. Okay, so pop-up parties. You know anything about this, Dr. Ashland? Gamork?
Pop-up parties?
Just became a doctor.
I am a doctor of beer brewing.
I know. I thought of you. Are you Bob and Miranda?
No. There's some other beer brewers on the island.
Okay. They're doing it, and they're popping up. And there's a lot like that. You know, we've had a lot of sponsors that are associated with parties here. We had several different types of events, like in the ground clam bakes, right? And then we have the pork thing there where they kill the pig and
Pig roast.
But the cool thing was that they actually cut down trees at your own property and make the fire, all with, the poison ivy laden trees in your yard. I mean, that was a fun one. Yeah, imagine that. So what do you think of the commercials? You're a newbie here with commercials, Frankie.
Yeah, I think they're great. It's nice to have some support behind you guys.
Yeah, there's the support. There's not a consistency in support, right? So they advertise once and they're gone. But that's fun. We have a good time with them.
Dawn soap next week.
That's a good memory. See, young people have good memories. I was going to do the introduce this new series of stories, because we finished our series of stories in a minute. But I thought I'd open it up to some stories of, why should I dominate the stories here? Have you a story that you want to let us in on? Because you're our guest. We love our guests.
A story. Let's take a trip up to Maine.
Maine.
So
Yes.
I was 20.
Were you in a Gunkwit?
1 or 22, I think, at the time.
Okay.
Went up skiing. This is going to be a bullshit or not story.
Okay.
And we go up to Sugarloaf in Maine, go ski a big mountain after a snowstorm. And about 10 of us get in the gondola and go from the bottom of the mountain up to the top of the mountain in short. And let's say we're up there for a few hours skiing up and down, up and down. And as it becomes the late afternoon on the Sunday, we'd watched the Patriots football game. And we had watched that at the pub. So we weren't necessarily skiing for a few of those hours. And we go up into the snowfields, which is the very top of the mountain, go off the backside, all jagged granite and rocks. And it's slightly filled in, with snow over the cold winter. And as the story goes, we all start going down one at a time.
Wait a minute. That's a clue. As the story goes. Because the story could go somewhere else.
It could.
Okay, keep going.
So we're playing tag, which is you're following me, James, and I'm following Ashland. And Ashland is trying not to get tagged by me or you or whomever it might be as we whip down this steep slope of.
You may be a good skier, but you'd never catch her. Unbelievable.
Are you a skier or a snowboarder?
Skier.
Oh, that's good.
We
Keep going.
Skiers. James, a planker, perhaps? Snowboard?
No.
Next winter.
I'm a
Perhaps.
skier of past tense.
Fair enough. So as we're going through these mountains, the snowstorm's really picked up, and it's starting to get to that late afternoon hour where the sun's starting to tuck behind the big pine trees that have been there for decades and decades. And the next thing you know, we're, halfway down the mountain, and there's 4 or 5 people there on the slopes, but these people don't have any skis nor snowboards. They're just kind of sitting there between rocks and trees, and we continue on kind of down towards them. You can see they're in a bit of trouble. And there's a girl, her name was Ingrid, I remember it vividly.
She a woman or a girl?
A woman, young woman, I guess, at the time. She was
Okay.
probably 19 or 20 or so. Very good skier. We'd seen her skiing all day.
Mm.
She had a big gash through her forehead.
Mm.
Just from a ski accident. It looked like she hit her head or hit a tree, a rock.
Could be.
Could be any of it.
Could have been
But
shot
she
in the head.
has no skis, so it kind of looks peculiar and out of place.
Mm.
She's got 2 friends with her,
And they don't have skis either.
and they don't have skis either, which is really odd to see a multitude of people on the mountain without skis. And we're in the backcountry. It's not, plowed snowfields. It's very rugged terrain. And so it turns out, as we continue on in, I guess, our little search party once we found them, is they'd lost their skis. Their skis had popped off their feet, all 3 of them together on rental skis. And the skis had gone into the abyss, nowhere to be found. And as we continue trying to now walk out of the hills, it's 6 o'clock at night now. It's pitch black up in Maine. It's been dark for 2.5 hours. And a search and rescue has started for these 3 lost girls, college girls, I think they were.
Women.
Women, excuse me. And as we go through with the story, it ended up being nearly 8 o'clock by the time we were all found, all 8 of us or so that were walking down the hill. And no skis were ever found. Big search party on the mountain. And we ended up playing hero walk, like half drunk. And that's my story. Bullshit or not.
What's hero walk?
A hero walk down the hill because we had found these women that were lost.
Because they
in the
accompanied
mountains.
them off the slope.
And that's probably not the end of the story, but it could be. But it
It's
is
just
for
weird
this
enough to be true.
one.
I'm a little perplexed how 3 people all lose their skis and can't find them.
I have a suspicion that they really like the skis and that they're in the back of the van and heading back to.
And they drew straws to see who would get a smack in the head to be injured. Shit, I got the short straw. Don't hit me too hard.
Well, it could have been dropped in, right? Dropped in from helicopter.
There you go.
Who knows? I'm going to go with true.
Bullshit.
Oh, you got to let her give it a shot. So it's bullshit. What part of it was bullshit? Any part that was true?
Yeah, so we did go up to Maine. We did find one woman that was out there. She didn't have anything wrong with her head. She couldn't find one of her skis. She had the other one. We hiked down the mountain. And
This is like
This was all before
your
dark.
neighbor across the street who says that my bullshit stories are always like just modifications of.
Yep.
Didn't he say something like that?
I think there was a discussion about that. I just don't recall anything that's negative that's said about Cotunkwood Chronicles, especially about you. Very good. Very good first attempt at that. And you got me. I appreciate that. I was going to tell a story, but I can't remember what I was going to say.
You were going to tell a bullshit story?
We talked about it before. I was telling you what I was going to talk about.
No, I told you to use something that you did in the past when you were explaining it to Frankie, which you did.
Which I don't remember what I did. I can't remember.
The one about landing the plane.
Oh, yeah. So I was going to tell that. But I'm bored saying that again.
Yeah, no, but you can't remember what you were going to say tonight.
No. Never mind. I mean, we have a bit of a story here that I need to
Yeah, let's go to the story.
All right, so this is a series. It's a series of, it's going to be 4 to 5 stories, so that's for our audience. And by now, they're kind of in favor of serial progressive stories, right, that build on each other. And the nice thing is that Ashlyn helps out in advance of the story, tells you what happened last week. But this week, it's the brand new story. And it's much like a fable at first. So if you remember fables when you were a kid, you know, they have their stories, but they have alternate meanings, right? I don't even know if that's the definition of a fable, but somebody will catch me on that. But this idea of this war that's going on in Ukraine between essentially Putin and his country, but I don't know if they believe in this war, and then Ukraine, and of course you know the players in Ukraine too, right? So I hope that you recognize them as we go forward. It's called Bear and the Nightingale, and I should say that a bear is the national symbol of Russia, and the nightingale is the national bird of Ukraine. And it's entitled A Favored Blueberry Patch and Slava Ukraini. In a harsh, cold climate, summer's bounty needs to be shared among all the creatures as winter's wrath can end those lives as quick as you can say first frost, or I believe that's a blizzard on its way. A nightingale pondered what to say to the giant bear ravaging the blueberry patch. He gathered his courage and spoke. There are some nightingales and some bears that are going to end up dead. And after it progresses and hungry, violent decades pass, neither you nor me or anyone else is ever going to remember what they were mad about. He wasn't quite sure whether the bear heard him or not, but soon received his answer. But I'm a bear, and you're a nightingale. I'm powerful, said the bear as he swiped violently with his giant paw, his claws snatching at the wind as the nightingale launched himself and flew around the bear's giant snout. The bear smashed a small sapling, snapping it to the ground, stomping on the branches as he raged. The bear showed his teeth menacingly, growling at his surroundings while he searched for honey in a rotten tree as angry bees questioned what was happening. As the bear destroyed everything within his grasp, the nightingale landed on his head, just above his eyes, undetected. The big bear sensed something was amuck, and this unnerved him further as he ravaged a larger tree in search of honey, knocking a starling's nest to the ground, along with a small cedar tree. The bear stood up on two legs and raised his ample arms. The nightingale adjusted his perch, clutching at the giant animal's coarse hair. He could smell fresh salmon and notice specks of fish on the bear's mane, so he pecked bits of fish and scales from the bear without him knowing. He was very hungry. As it is, and has been forever, birds of all types, but mostly the nightingales, ate at the first ripe blueberries before the bear's arrival, which took place each year after the famous salmon run. This year, the powerful bear only shared the blueberry patch that is located near the salmon run among a few other bear families, never letting the nightingales and other birds eat from the rich blueberry fields. The nightingales were forced to eat chokecherries, as scrap for harsh juniper berries and the occasional cricket. Nightingales had fallen on hard times with the new bear schedule, as did the crickets. Other bear families followed suit, leaving all the richest berry fields off limits to the birds as they wandered and pillaged the fields whenever the bears felt the need. They needed to eat blueberries and to hunt for bugs without any consideration of the nightingales. The big bear wandered from the stream with the nightingales in tow, atop his head, meandering back to the blueberry patch where he knew his mate was safely eating blueberries in an open field. As he approached from the nearby field, he growled a nasty hello, but his mate barely nodded, acknowledgement of the arrival, never really looking up, moving farther from her cubs to distract the big bear. Her two cubs, Ivan and Isha, scattered to the tree line, just as their mother had instructed them to do whenever Big Bear visited. They hid behind a group of mountain laurel bushes, peeking through the underbrush to see their father. Isha laughed when she saw the bird hanging precariously from her father's neck like an old and odd necklace. Ivan tried to hold a laugh inside, but couldn't. Big Bear immediately turned their way, took a few strides, stood up, seeking sight lines to the mountain laurels where they were hiding, and sniffing the winds vigorously for scent. He was expected to protect his mate in this field of ripe berries, but he never liked visiting with the cubs. He found them to be immature and weak, always needing their mother's time and resources and asking him questions while he was trying to become fat before winter by eating fish from the river. He occasionally brought salmon back for their mom, but never to the two cubs. He insisted that fishing was his job, and that he was to defend this territory to the death if necessary. When their mother tried to feed them parts of the fatty fish skin, Big Bear snatched it from her, and Nara snarled while swallowing the precious skin whole. "Quiet," Ivan insisted. "You shush," said Isha, as she moved closer to her brother, holding his paw gently. Ivan growled, but didn't let go of his sister's hand. He knew they were in trouble. Big Bear had swatted his male cub Ivan just after he was born, knocking him down a cliff outside their winter den. Ivan survived the fall, and his mother retrieved him as he was barely able to climb on her back and ride to the den. Ivan didn't move for almost a week as his legs and back were hurt in the fall. He remembered that his father was sent away by his mother as she growled and insisted that he find another den. Until recently, he hadn't returned to visit. Ivan was still very scared of his father. He'd heard of his father's fights with the other bears in the area and the history of the great fight with Romanov the Great. Mother had told them the grisly details of a night fight long ago between their father and Romanov. Father killed him and his whole family, dragging them in the middle of the night from where they were bedding down, cutting Romanov's throat with a slash of his paw, and quiet and violently killing the remaining family members. It wasn't clear whether any of the Romanov ruling bears survived. He's scarred. See his nose and shoulders? They're bloody. He's been fighting again, Isha said in hushed tones. No one messes with him, Ivan responded, puffing his chest out. Except that silly bird. He's so funny. He flies away, taunts him, and then he returns on his neck where he can't get him. It's brilliant, Isha said, laughing as she smiled and snorted through her nose to remain hushed. He's fine. I want to be like him someday, said Ivan. He's a thug. He hates Mom, and he'd kill you right now if he smelled you, Isha whispered. You forget what he did to you? You were only a few days old. Couldn't defend yourself? What kind of bear is he? And what kind of bear brother are you? Isha asked as she released herself from her brother's hand. We all have to grow up and become bears that lumber and forage and fight, Ivan responded. Lumber and forage, fine, but to fight, it's not necessary. There's plenty for all. Look, see the berries here? For years I've seen flocks of nightingales and other birds feeding on the berries at this time of year. Now Big Bear's chased them up here for days while he eats salmon on the beach, never ever dropping any of that fish for us, or any scraps for the birds. He eats it all and never teaches us to fish, or even permits us to fish at the salmon river. Look how big he is. And the birds never return while we're here, except that one large nightingale with a greenish-gray chest and shoulders. He looks like he's wearing a green people t-shirt, like a hunter, Isha observed. We do what we want to do, eat where we want to eat. We're bears, Ivan declared, just a little too loud. Big Bear's head lifted from the berries as he continued to swat the plants and lift the bushes and berries and roots and all. As he worked his way across a field, he destroyed each plant, killing huge swaths of blueberry plants as he proceeded. But now his attention moved to the wooded line of bushes where the two cubs lay hidden. You hear that? I'm sure I heard something in the mountain laurel. Where are those filthy little cubs you walk around with all day? He asked the mother bear. I left them with my sister and their cousins, and they're not filthy, she half lied defiantly. I've needed to speak with you for a long time. We don't seem to be compatible any longer. You spend your days chasing other bears from the salmon run. You won't let us eat with you, and now you're destroying the blueberry bushes and insulting my cubs, and you're not listening again. She swiped her paw at him in disgust. We have a problem here. I can smell something, Big Bear insisted. It's probably your coat. It may be a good idea to wash in the river before you come up here to the fields to see me. You smell of fish brains. The nightingale lifted off his perch and first flew between the huge bear's ears, then reversed direction, flying right between his massive legs as the bear flailed at the speedy bird. The bird worked to distract the bear. Did you see this? You aren't even looking, Isha called, quietly to Ivan as he gnawed at the roots of a sassafras bush, sucking the licorice-tasting roots with his head down. Ivan looked up. The gray-green nightingale flew vigorously around Big Bear's head as the bear moved threateningly across the meadow to the tree line, stopping to swat at the bird ineffectively. "Why is the bird doing that?" Ivan asked. He's saving our blueberry field, or his field, whoever owns this field," Isha murmured. "But he couldn't be. He's just a bird against a giant bear," Ivan said. As Big Bear turned back, he saw a giant flock of nightingales fly into the field. They curiously lined themselves across the middle of the blueberry patch, standing quietly in observation of the conflict in front of them, in defiant solidarity. Mother Bear moved closer to Big Bear on the other side of the blueberry patch and stood in amazement. The tiny birds stood shoulder to shoulder, closer than birds ever stand, lined as if they were on a rope. Gray-green continued to fly around the bear's head. "Will he ever stop?" Isha asked as she thumped Ivan to the ground with her paw when he tried to stand. "Big Bear will never stop until he owns it all," Ivan said. "Not Big Bear, Ivan. The bird. I'm afraid for him," Isha responded. The band of birds, now starlings and patches of beautiful bluebirds and blue jays and chickadees, all stood in rows behind the grandest of birds, the nightingales, that pressed the line forward slightly to make room for other groups of birds. The first sortie of nightingales took to the skies, flying in formation, as if all tethered by a net, reaching the bear and the bird in the middle of the field, streaming around the Big Bear until he was barely visible. The gray day turned black as the nightingales circled the frustrated bear, suddenly not at all concerned about the smells of the offspring in the wooded edge. The starlings flew next. They avoided Big Bear, their mission to fly the line to protect a portion of the vast field, moving along the line as birds seemed to call to chirp of encouragement as they passed. And that's where we're going to stop. So, we have set up something here. What do we got going on?
All your stories are a little bit about relationships.
I think that's probably true. I got a note right here where we stopped. So, yes, that's true. Could you expand on that?
Well, it's like this back and forth, people getting along, not getting along. I mean,
In this case, they're not people, right?
No, but that's the same thing, right? It's a relationship with two neighbors, whether they're countries or represented by your animals.
Yeah. So true.
It all comes down to, why can't we just all get along?
What do you think is going to happen here? I think there's going to be a war. I think there's going to be some blueberries that are going to get squashed in the process.
Tart blueberries. Extra tart.
Yeah. Rough times.
It's just like those poor oysters from the last story.
Oh, wow. Yes. I know. I was thinking of that as I was driving over the bridge because the oyster
You can see all the farms, yeah.
They have them turned over in there. At this time, it's a critical time. So, as a younger person than I, and even younger than Ashland, has your attention span captured with this or not?
I really liked this piece, and my attention span is a short one, typically anyways, as you likely know from our golf conversations and such. But I really liked this story and how it kind of showed the difference of multitude of angles that are current today, albeit through the eyes or wings of a bird and bear.
Mm.
That was nice.
Why do you think I chose a bird, to take on the bear?
Well, I mean, you did set us up in the beginning by...
Yeah, silly question. Yeah, so the idea that Zelensky is taking on this task with his fellow countrymen. It did prompt some great interest, and then to try to determine how all of this is going to play out, and have a solution or an end, I should say, is intriguing. The intriguing part for me was to try to build the project, because we don't know how it's going to end. And
It's also interesting that you have the bear as sort of a solo bully, where the other bears aren't even necessarily behind him.
well, he is the bear that took down the Romanovs. Of course, I put some, like,
Yeah, there's a little
historically
bit
the
of-
Romanovs were the as you know,
Yeah.
the Tsar and Tsarina of the Russia when the change took place. However, poetic license, I guess.
Mhm.
Well, that's that story. The Bear and the Nightingale, and gonna maybe work a couple of pieces of this into the next few weeks. See
Yeah.
how it works.
I'd like to see where it goes.
All right. Do you have any more observations?
From the piece?
Any?
No, not really. Not too much. I think this was really a fun experience. I appreciate you taking some time to
Well, Frankie,
have us in here.
you impressed me right away. Almost from the first time I met you, and I have to say that, and I'm not in love with you or anything.
Just blink twice.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. I would certainly enjoy. I've always enjoyed your conversation, and the very first moment I met you, you shook my hand and looked me straight in the eye, and I have to say that's pretty good.
He does
But-
have a good handshake.
True, but I noticed tonight you might have like poison ivy in your left eye. Above your left eye, there's like some kind of swelling going on.
Oh, it's sweat.
Oh, sweat. No, like right on the eyelid, it's swollen. So we're worried about you. You didn't bring anything in here. We don't want. But that's all we're going to say about that. But thank you for joining us today, and we appreciate you. Maybe we'll have you back another time with some more stories.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And Ashland, really nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, Frankie.
And Ashland, you have anything else to say to us this day? That you want to express? I would say this: first opportunity to vote in this town, Cotuncquit, October 16th. So get out there and do that. I think it's the 16th.
I usually, since voting is usually right here.
Oh, you do it the day of? Okay.
Well, most people do it the day of, although you could have an absentee ballot, but that's how I usually know. There's a sign.
I go early. I get it done, and I do it early to sort of make some sort of political statement. And then, so I would say vote. That's a good thing to do, whatever you're going to vote for, or whoever you're going to vote for. And you probably have time, by the way, to get to know who the candidates are.
Absolutely.
They're going to express quite a bit in the press, and I might be calling you about an opportunity to meet a candidate.
Very good. Look forward to it.
Yeah.
That'd be wonderful.
All right, we're going to play some music. No, Frankie, don't take down the artwork from the walls. That's not ours. Oh no, why'd you do that? They put it up there with that special tape. Oh no, it's not movable. Ashland, we're in trouble again. That's our fourth time. I
Fourth
thought
time
3
getting in
strikes are
trouble?
out, but
Yeah.
we're in trouble.
Next week, if our setup's not here, we'll know that's it.
I'm sorry. All right, I'm going to close the door again.